There's a reason why over half of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. Back when I was a teenager, I always wondered how some people had big houses and fancy cars while others barely had anything. So it got me thinking, what are they doing differently? Now over the years, I realized that we are a function of our habits. And if you find it hard to save or have extra money, then you might have some sneaky bad money habits. And it wasn't until I fully understood what these bad habits were that I was able to start building my net worth. So in this video, I'll share the 7 money habits that are keeping you poor and how you can fix them to be able to grow your net worth. The first bad money habit is not understanding how credit cards work. When I was a kid, I thought that credit cards were these fun pieces of plastic that let you buy anything that you wanted. You can go to a store, pick something up, and then pay for it later. But it wasn't until I grew up that I realized that paying later could actually cause a lot of problems down the line. You see, at the end of the month, your credit card statement shows up with 2 numbers, a minimum balance and a statement balance. The minimum balance is a small amount that you need to pay, and it's enticing for many new card owners because they think that they can go out and max out their cards and only have to pay a fraction of that amount every month. But that's where the trap is set, because if you're only paying the minimum amount, you're setting yourself up for a financial drain. The way that the minimum payment is calculated is that you end up paying off your purchases plus a lot of interest over many years. And the shocking part, a big chunk of your payments goes towards the interest and barely lowers your total balance. On top of that, credit cards are notorious for having very high interest rates. We're talking about 15 to 30% depending on your credit score and what card you get. If you compare this to home loans, car loans, and student loans, those are all typically under 10%. So this makes credit card interest rates some of the highest form of consumer debt out there. And if you think about the average investment, most people would kill for a guaranteed 10% return. So it makes no sense to try to invest any money or pay down any other forms of debt while you still have a credit card balance due. As an example, let's take a look at one of my recent credit card statements. I had a balance of $4,649.10, but the minimum payment is only $46. So you'd think, okay, it'll take me about 100 months, which is about 8 years, to pay this off. But because of the interest, it'll actually take me 15 years to pay this off, and I would have paid a total of $11,403, which is almost 2.5 times the amount that I initially spent. So the smarter move is to pay off your statement balance every month. This way, your credit remains solid and you don't have to pay any interest on the money. On top of that, if you use your cards wisely, you can actually earn points that you can use to get free flights, travel experiences, and even hotel rooms. Last year, we even used some of my points to book a week stay at an all-inclusive resort in Cancun, and it was an amazing vacation. Not paying off your credit cards every month is a money habit that is keeping you poor, and you need to do everything that you can to make sure that you don't hold a balance at the end of the month. And for those who are interested in opening great credit cards and getting great bonuses, then check out the link in the description for some of my favorite cards. Now, the second money habit that's keeping you poor is financing or leasing a car. Imagine walking into a dealership and seeing the car of your dreams, and because you think you can't afford it, you start to walk out. But just as you're about to leave, the salesman offers you the deal of a lifetime. You can take this beauty home for just $500 a month. Now, it's a deal that's too great to resist, and then you find yourself in a 3-year lease. But let's think about this for a second. When you lease a car, you don't actually own it. There are rules that you have to obey, such as how many miles you're allowed to drive each year, and when the lease is up, you have to return the car back to the dealership. So you're basically borrowing the car and paying for the privilege. Now, of course, some people lease cars for businesses and they get some tax breaks for it, but let's be real, most of us are not in that boat. So the same thing goes for financing a car. People are going into dealerships and thinking about how much they can afford every month instead of thinking of the total price that they pay on the vehicle. When you finance a car, you end up paying way more money for it over time because of the interest. But when you drive it off the lot, the car instantly loses 30% of its value. So you're ending up paying more for something that's worth less. And since people are so concerned about how much they can afford every month, they sometimes go for the most expensive option that they're qualified to get. And that's where they stumble into a money pit. It's an easy mistake to make, especially when the thrill of driving a shiny new car takes over our common sense. Now on top of that, the nicer the car, the more expensive it's going to be just to own it. Your maintenance bills are going to be much higher, and you're going to need to pump the car up with the most expensive fuel. So that's why my wife and I like to buy our cars with cash. If we need to get a loan on a property, probably means that we can't afford it and we should stay away from it. My wife even bought a used Nissan Sentra for $6,700 off of someone from Craigslist. And this car works great, and it cost her a fraction of what it would have been if she bought it new. We love the freedom of owning our cars because we can drive it however we want without worrying about the mileage limits. And because we drive cheaper cars, we don't care about the small dings and scratches, peeling paint, and we can feel comfortable parking it wherever we want. Now, some people might find it odd that we're okay with driving simpler cars, even though we can afford something much nicer. But for for us, they do the job just fine, and we like the peace of mind that comes with it. Plus, making choices like this helps us stay on track with our money and avoiding the pitfalls of spending more than we should. Now, the third habit that's keeping you poor is needing to furnish your home with rented furniture. Now, it's easy to walk into a rental store like Aaron's and see the stylish setups and think, okay, I can have a super nice place for only $1,000 a month. But much like my earlier point about cars, you're not gonna own any of this furniture, but you're gonna end up paying way more for it over time. And again, same thing goes with financing furniture. It's like leasing a car. You're paying more money over time for something that's losing value. It's a no-win situation. I even spoke to a friend who used to work at cons, and he told me that oftentimes people will go to the store, get their credit run just to see how much they're qualified for. Now, if the store said they could buy up to $8,000, then they would go ahead and buy $8,000 worth of furniture to take home. But by doing this, they're putting themselves into a financial pitfall. So here's how we dodge this bullet. We buy most of our furniture from Amazon and Walmart. And yes, the quality may not be as nice, but we're able to get some amazing deals, such as sofas for $600 and bed frames for under $200. We never finance our furniture and we never rent it. Now, again, if you can't afford to buy it, then it's probably not something that you should own. And for our latest Airbnb, we furnished it with a completely different route. We were able to get furniture from friends who were looking to get rid of them. We were able to get a free sofa, a couple of tables, and even some free decorations. Another thing that we've been doing lately is finding furniture on Facebook Marketplace. By getting used furniture, you're able to get a huge discount. Now, the best people that we found to buy things from are people who are moving or doing estate sales. But our favorite sellers are other Airbnb hosts who are either selling their properties or just calling it quits. They often have nice looking pieces of furniture and decorations that you can get for cheap and save a ton of money. So stay away from financing or renting furniture and learn how to get great deals online or from other owners. Now, the fourth money habit that's keeping you poor is keeping everything in cash. Some people keep their money at home because they don't trust the system. They don't put their money in a bank account and they don't invest it. But the obvious problem is if you get robbed or if there's a fire at home, that money is gone forever and it isn't insured. But actually the real issue with that is a silent wealth stealer, which is inflation. Inflation is when things get more expensive over time. So for example, a movie ticket back in the day was $7 and now those same tickets go for $15. When things get more expensive, the value of your money goes down and you're unable to buy as much with the same amount of money that you could before. Now luckily for you, there's a tried and true way of fighting back against that invisible wealth destroyer, and that's by investing. You can invest in stocks, you can invest in real estate, you can also put your money into a high yield savings account. In our situation, we only keep enough cash on us so that we can eat at restaurants that don't accept credit cards. And we invest a large amount of our net worth into real estate and stocks, and we also keep a secure amount in a high yield savings account, which is basically a bank account, but it gives us much higher interest rates. But unlike investing with a chance that we could lose money, our money in a high yield savings account is secured and even insured up to $250,000. So even if that bank fails, our money is safe. And as of this recording, there are companies that are offering rates in the mid fours, which means that if you put $10,000 into it, you'll be getting $450 every single year without doing anything, which is huge. Now, if you want to know more about our favorite high yield savings account and which one to use, I'm gonna put a link for that down in the description below. Now, the bottom line is that keeping your money in cash is making you poor because you're losing the ability to buy things over time with the money that you save. So you need to find a way to beat inflation. Bad money habit number 5 is renting a nicer place than you can afford. Now, isn't it everyone's dream to live in a nice place with 20-foot ceilings, with large glass windows and a high rise in the middle of the city? Well, you can live there for the low price of $10,000 a month. And while most of us aren't looking to rent in these fancy apartments, you may already be paying too much to live in your current apartment. Housing, after all, is one of our highest fixed expenses. When you pay rent, all of that money is going to your landlord. And instead of having that money go towards building your own equity, you're helping your landlord pay off their mortgage. So what we like to do is own our own homes, even if they aren't as nice as an apartment that we can afford. And this is because when you own real estate, first of all, your monthly payment to the bank won't go up. You're going to be paying down your loan every single month, and as you hold on to it, your property will likely appreciate in value. You're also going to get some amazing tax benefits from owning real estate as well. But if you're renting, you're spending all this money without creating any assets. If your rent is $2,500 a month, then every year you're out $30,000 in post-tax money. And in 5 years, you'll have spent $150,000 with nothing to show for it. But what if you can't afford a home? That's okay. You can start by realizing that you can greatly reduce the amount you spend on rent if you're willing to live a humble lifestyle and get roommates. Throughout my 20s, I always rented out a 2 or 3 bedroom apartment so that I could split the rent with some of my friends. This greatly reduced my cost of living and helped me save a 6-figure net worth by the time I was 24 years old. And then when I bought a home, instead of fronting for the entire mortgage payment myself, I rented out my spare bedrooms so that I was able to save and invest more. So now that we're financially stable and we own multiple rentals, we still live a humble lifestyle and live in a very modest home. In fact, some of our rental properties are actually nicer than our own personal residence. Why? Because it's more fun for my wife and I to make a property really nice and charge a higher rent than to make our own home super nice with no additional benefit. So not falling into the trap of continually moving to more expensive homes and apartments have allowed us to save and invest more of our money to buy rentals and pay down our mortgages on properties that we already already own. So take a look at your current living situation and see if there are ways that you can save on rent. The sixth money habit that's keeping you poor is not having a plan on payday. So picture this, it's Friday night, your paycheck just hit, and your coworkers invite you out for happy hour. And before you know it, your money's all gone before you even had a chance to save it. Then you struggle the rest of the month to pay your bills with whatever's left until the next paycheck. Rinse and repeat, and 5 years later, you're no closer to achieving your financial goals because you never had a plan to begin with. So now, let's envision a different approach. Instead of spending first, take a portion of your paycheck, say 10 or 20%, and have it automatically saved before you even have a chance to spend it. Your savings goals are met, and then you can feel free to spend whatever's left. And you may be thinking, man, I would love to save 20% of my income, but I already spent everything that I have. And if that's the case, you may need to adjust your mindset, because I can almost guarantee you that there's someone making 20% less than you, and they're finding a way to make it work right now. So if they can figure it out, then so can you. So automatically start saving that money and embrace living a more humble lifestyle. But all these bad habits are nothing compared to this next one. And the seventh money habit that's keeping you poor is not being able to say no. I've been married for 2 years now, and I've stopped drinking alcohol for 5 years. And a few years ago, I got invited to go to a bachelor party in Las Vegas. And at the party, we did the usual things. We hung out, we ate dinner, and of course, we went to the club and we got bottle service. So I don't know if you know this, but bachelor parties are basically what keeps Las Vegas in business. The drinks cost 20 times what you can get them at a grocery store, and we end up getting a lot of bottles so that we can have these nice cabanas at the club. Now, this event was fun for some people, but for me, it was really a waste of time because I don't drink and I'm not single. So there's really no point for me to be there. I only took one Fiji water, but when the time came to pay the bill, we ended up splitting everything evenly. So long story short, I ended up paying several $100s for one bottle of water. Now, luckily, I had the financial means to cover it without any issues. Some people aren't confident in themselves, so they agree to go to every trip or every wedding that they get invited to. And while it's nice to show up for the social gatherings, you don't have to go to all of them. Now, you may not realize it, every time you're going to a wedding, you're paying for flights, for the gifts that you're gonna give, your hotel stay, and possibly for a new suit or bridesmaid's dress if you're part of the wedding party. Now, all of these costs add up, and if you're going to multiple of them a year, then that's a lot of money that you're spending that you could be saving. So just do what you wanna do, and don't feel peer pressured into doing something you don't want to do, especially if it's costing you a lot of money. So one of the best ways to get rid of these 7 money habits that keep you poor is to stay away from other people who have these bad habits. So I highly suggest going to different meetups and conferences and building a friend group that is more in line with your money savings goals. Every time I meet with my financially savvy friends, I learn something new, and I can learn how to save and make more money, which is very exciting. And if you guys want to learn the money habits that help me become a millionaire, then be sure to check out this video over here. Thanks for watching, guys. I appreciate you, and I'll see you next time. Take care.